hope y'all enjoyed those fireworks last night because my neighbors clearly did.
Oh, Lord.
Listen, y'all, make some noise for my band, For the Culture.
Oh.
Hey, fellas, did those fireworks keep y'all up?
Oh, yes, they did.
Yeah, you know they did.
Oh, yes, they did.
Really? What time did they finally stop?
Around 2 o'clock.
2?
But I fell asleep around 1, though.
Really?
Yeah, they
So-
kept going.
you
I'm talking about, they had like big ones.
Really?
Like shook the house, big like fireworks.
Like cannons?
Yes.
Like-
Boom. I said, oh my God.
Oh my goodness, so were you like sitting in your yard, chilling, watching
No,
it?
I was sitting on my couch.
He was sitting on his couch. Even better.
Yes.
We love that view.
Yes.
So listen, today, y'all, we are diving into the intricate topic of sexualization. Yes, into the intricate topic of sexualization of women in the music industry. Today, we will explore the influence of music videos, the portrayal of women on social media, and the choices women make in their public image and attire. We will examine the fine line between self-expression and societal pressures, questioning whether these representations empower women or perpetuate harmful objectification. So y'all sit back, relax, grab your bubbly beverage, and let's get this show! Let's get it started! Ooh, thank you very much. I'm ready. So y'all help me welcome out radio host, entrepreneur, and all-around boss babe, Koya!
I'm great. How are you? Hey, FTC.
It is always great to have you here.
Always great.
We have to give Koya a moment when she walks in the building because everybody's like, "What's up, Koya?"
Yeah,
I love it. Viva la Koya.
Yes.
So listen, we want to dive in because we have so many questions. Koya, talk to us.
Yes.
Should female artists be held accountable for the messages they convey through their sexualized music?
Here's the thing. I think if we're gonna hold that standard, then we have to hold that across the board, right? So we can say that about people who make murder mystery novels, right? Should we hold them to that same standard? We can say the same thing about an actor who portrays a role or persona on social media. Do we hold them to that same standard? So why is it that I've taken on this persona and I've chose to live in this persona, now I'm held to that, not like the rest of the world?
You know what? That's a really good answer. And it also makes me think about the case that was going on, and they're judging them based on their lyrical content, opposed to, hey, this could have just been a character, a role, a story that I was telling. So, I mean, I know that was a male group that was going through that. That's like a rap artist that was going through that. The Rico or something like that. Yes.
It was.
But it's the same thing in the sense of holding people accountable for what they do, what they say. So are women having to be, what about Suki? That reminds me of Aha.
So honestly, as we're sitting here talking about it, because it was the more recent incident that happened, Sukihana was the first person who pops into my mind, right? Like, she's taken on this persona. She's chosen to take this identity, and it works for her. It makes her money. It's how she feeds her family. So outside of that persona, that character that she puts on in her regular life, are we supposed to still hold her to that standard, so much so that we're walking up to her and forcefully kissing her or calling her out of her name or even treating her the way that we would not treat a woman that we hold to a higher standard? I think that those things are just, especially at this point in the world, especially at this point in life, like, why are we still held to those standards, but everyone else isn't?
I don't know. That's really interesting. I think there are double standards when it comes down to women versus men versus anything in any industry. So we're going to talk about the empowerment and the result of the industry pressure that women go through in the industry. Can we talk about the sexualized music women make a form of empowerment, or is it a result of the pressure that they get from the industry?
So I see it two ways, right? And specifically as I'm speaking, I think about the city girls who pop into my mind, right? Because they're from Florida. Miami. Miami cultures is a different kind of culture, in my opinion. So they're bringing and shedding light on a culture or an environment that they've embodied and they've embraced and they're a part of, and now they're just giving it to the rest of the world. So who am I to say, like, hey, this should or should not happen? If it is you telling your story in your true and authentic form, then sure, go out there and do it. But I do think that we are in an era where women are hypersexualized, and in the music, it is definitely grown to a place where it's almost as if you don't make this type of music, then you aren't the cool girl, or you're not the relatable girl, or you're not the girl that people wants to listen to. So part of it, I see two sides, right? Part of it is like, okay, cool if it's authentic to who you are. And then the other part of it is, are you just doing this to be cool or to be down or to be fly?
Okay, so Koya, there is a huge debate going on, and I need to hear your side. The artistic expression versus the exploitation, that is a huge debate. Can you tell us, is the sexualized music women make a form of empowerment, or is it a result of industry pressure?
So that's an interesting question because I see both sides, right? And specifically because we're in Florida, I think about the city girls, right? They're the first people that pop into my mind. Miami, in my opinion, is a whole nother culture outside of Florida.
It is.
So I feel like they're shedding light and showing how they've embraced this Miami culture, and it's their life and it's what they do. But on the other side, I can see how, like, it's become super pressure for these artists to make that type of music because the industries and these record labels are like, hey, this is selling. It's working for so-and-so. You need to adopt that blueprint and do the same thing. So I get to the point where it's like, I see both sides, but how much of it is authentic?
Now, I will tell you, this blueprint has been around for a very long time. Believe it or not, when I was 20-something years old, I had this major record deal. And I moved from Atlanta to New York. Wow. And I thought to myself, oh my God, my dream is coming true. And when I got there, initially I was going to be, the next, Whitney, you're coming from Celine Dion, da-da-da-da. But at the moment, you know who was hot?
Who?
Adina Howard.
Wow.
So I actually got called into the office, and nothing against Adina Howard, but I was like, I ain't gonna be no freak in the morning, freak in the evening. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It was a huge song, but I was like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
And so that's how you're gonna either get pressured into doing it, or you're going to lose your record deal.
Yeah.
So you lose your fan base, you lose a record deal. So tell me, what's the potential influence of sexualized music on the perception of relationships, consent, and self-worth among young listeners?
So I think if they were to take it and transform it and make it into an empowering, situation, I could see how that could work. But sometimes it just gets to the point where it's too much. Let's be honest. I mean, even back to what you're saying, when you had your record deal, freak in the morning, freak in the evening, then it was the same thing. I mean, we see the city girls doing the same version of that in a sense. Or, Nicki Minaj or Cardi B, whoever that is. So they adopt these blueprints and they bring them to era after era, and we see it just slowly start to happen again. In one way, I think it can be empowering if that's who you are, and if that's your artistic way of getting it out and off of you. But in the other sense, when young girls come into play, I don't care. I just think about my young sister.
Yes.
I think about, my little cousins.
Yes.
I just think we need to be mindful.
Yes, of what we say, what we do, how we present ourselves.
Or just the art we make.
Yes.
Yes,
the presentation of our art. It's
Keep in mind that you have that young cousin, you have that young sister. Like I said, if it's a form of empowerment for you and that's the way you want to get your artistic freedom, I understand that. But just keep in mind that everything ain't got to be freak in the morning, freak in the evening.
Oh my goodness, not at all. So tell us, you are huge in radio. When you play music and you know how impressionable young children are, young girls, young boys, everything. If it's coming from an Auntie Koya kind of perspective, it's one thing. How do parents navigate discussions around sexualized music with their daughters and even their sons?
Well, I think it's pivotal. I think it's important because they're going to hear this music when they go into their homecoming dance, when they go into the football games on Friday night.
In their private AirPods, whatever. Yes.
So I think it's a conversation that needs to be had. And I think think oftentimes in Black families, it's something we kind of just like bypass and hope like the older cousin has a conversation with you, or hopes like your auntie pulls you aside in the room and have that conversation. But I think what people of color need to start doing is taking their own children and sitting them down and having these conversations with them, because they're hearing it. It's out there. Their minds are wondering. Now they're wondering, you know, what is a WAP? I want to know.
Yes.
But that's a real thing, you know?
And bruh, I'm one of them parents who know what that is.
You know?
Yes, I try to stay hip to what's going on. Listen, we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. Don't y'all go nowhere. We're here with Koya. Hey. Welcome back to the Sisaundra Show. I am here with my girl Koya, and we're talking about a hot topic in the industry. That's the sexualization of women. So Koya, let's continue this and tell me, you know, Essence Fest just happened. What are your thoughts on Megan Thee Stallion's Essence performance? The inclusion of the boot camp with fans coming and twerking on stage.
Ooh, yeah, well, we know India Arie had a lot of choice words to say about this performance.
Yes, she did.
We know it's a part of Meg Thee Stallion's, you know, her whole persona is twerking and the hot girls.
And the, what is it called, knees?
Oh, yeah, she got them strong knees.
She got the strong knees.
Megan knees, for sure.
Yes.
I think that culturally, Essence is this prestige event that's held to a very high standard to Black people, to people amongst our community that are for the culture. So I understand, India Arie's frustration with, you know, there was a time where Essence was held up here to this standard, and now we're coming and seeing Janelle Monáe flash us and Meg Thee Stallion bring her whole boot camp.
Oh my goodness, listen, we're gonna get back to Janelle. What's her name, Janelle?
Yeah, Janelle Monáe.
Okay, let's talk about India Arie a little bit. She mentioned that making performances like this mainstream shows a lack of discretion and discernment.
And I know she also mentioned context too, right?
Yes.
And so that's the thing, and where we're coming from, context, right? This is Essence, this prestige event. Meg Thee Stallion, twerking. You see how the two are kind of not synonymous in our culture and within our community. So I understand where she's coming from. I'm a fan of Meg Thee Stallion. We have the same birthday. That's my girl. You know?
Right.
However, when we're talking about a prestige Black event within our community, I just think
that it was a little out of place there.
Yeah, the mark was missed a little.
Yes, yes, indeed. Now let's talk about Miss Monáe. Why is she flashing everybody?
You know, I don't know what Janelle Monáe has going on, but like if you follow her on social media recently, she's just been doing her thing and living in her own world. And I actually watched her sit down with Angie Martinez, where she kind of sheds light on kind of what she's going through, just carefree, not
very carefree,
living her
like
life.
Pasties carefree. And you know what? I've known, right? It's intense. So I've known her music and just her performances for a very long time, and I love her. But it's such a pivot. Is that what you call it?
It is a huge
pivot.
It's
a pivot. It's like she feel real free.
Yes, and it only just makes me wonder, like, how much of a chokehold did whatever have on you before? Because right now, you want to do it all in out there.
Yes. She want to do it all in 23. She want to show us everything.
Every part.
My goodness. So do you think it's necessary to consider the diversity of the audience and their comfort levels when designing these performances? I mean, I think we kind of said yes, but think about the audience. I mean, would we get up and twerk on the TSS show? No.
And because Essence is such a wide...
No turn up, guys. Some say no.
Right. Period. Only because Essence, too, is just a large demo, right? I see anywhere from, like, teenagers to, like, people in their 60s and 70s probably being at Essence, right? So that's why I think the mark was missed, because when you look at the demo of Essence, is Megan Thee Stallion getting on stage twerking going to really appeal to every single demographic that we've invited? Because here's the thing, at big events like Essence, you see your demo, you see the type of people who've signed up, you know what age they are, you know what you know what geographical location they're coming from. You know all of those stats as you're getting ready for this event. So why was that not thought about when booking the performers? I don't know. That's just a little question mark there for me.
Just a little, yeah. Hit or miss.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about redefining women and femininity. What does that look like today? Challenging traditional notions of femininity and embracing individuality beyond sexualization. So we're talking about Janelle Monáe, and I think she's embodying this right now. She's totally embracing the femininity and her individuality, and probably not thinking about it looks hyper-sexualized. Just being herself. What do we do when people are looking? How do we redefine that so that we don't lose the class, elegance, and respect that we deserve as we be our individual selves?
And I think that will be forever a balance that everyone will continue to search for, because how do I stay true to who I am, but also not push boundaries further, especially like my own, into everyone else's life? And I would just say, you know, I am a stickler for what I'm about to say. I would just say authenticity, man. At the end of the day, that's what it always boils down to.
So no matter what, just be yourself. It doesn't even matter if it offends people. Just be you.
I would not say it does not matter if it offends people, only because there's a thin line, but also a huge line between intent and impact. So your intention could be one thing, but the way it impacted me was another thing.
Correct.
So I think as long as you try to like think about the two at the same time and how I can like somehow seemingly stay balanced between the two, like still stay authentic to who I am, but because the impact that I want to have on someone else is not hurtful or even offensive, keep in mind those boundary settings that may be there in that arena too.
Emotional intelligence.
Ooh, yeah, I've been working on that.
We're all working on that.
Yeah.
And we're going to continue to work on it until we get back tomorrow. It's time for us to say goodbye. Thank you so much, Koya. Guys!
Bye.
Hey!
Come on, just scan that QR code at the bottom of your screen, because we got way more exclusive content to do right here on the Sisaundra Show. That's only on Afro TV, Comcast Xfinity Channel 16, 23, and Roku. Yeah.
If you are at work, at home, y'all drop everything and tune in because it's time for the Sisaundra Show!
Yeah.
Listen, I'm just kidding. Don't y'all get fired. Don't drop everything at work. Listen, speaking of fired, y'all.